Hello, everybody. I am
Hello.
Todd Carter. This is
I'm
my
Andrea
wife.
Carter.
And we happen to have two special guests on with us tonight. These are some of our best friends. This is Barry and Terri Hogan, and we've got a lot to talk to you about. So we're going to do this in two parts. We love them dearly, but I was asking Andrea the other day, going, "Do you remember how we met?" I said, "It's been so long ago. I don't remember. I remember all the stories that Barry and I got in trouble with, but do you guys remember how, do you guys remember how we
You have
met?
that big of a memory? Because we got in trouble a lot.
How did we meet?
So the first time I think I ever remember seeing you, Todd, was uh, our oldest boys, Will's and Jared's baseball practice or game. You were all dressed up. I think you'd been to some kind of meeting, and I looked over at you and thought, man, look at that old boy coming to a baseball game in all that garb. But we got to know each other through our kids, and it's really interesting. We'll kind of get into that a little bit on how, if you want to, I can go ahead and kind of go through that. But um, we got to know each other and got to be friends, and um, our oldest kids graduated high school together and
Yep.
were best friends in high school. Will and Jared, our two boys, they played sports together when they were younger and got
Yep.
got to be really close and are still good friends. And then our middle son Ben is best friends with your next, which would be Skylar. And Ben and Stormy, your next child, actually graduated high school together, and they were good friends too. But Ben and Skylar ended
Yep.
up brothers, and Ben's guys for a while when we moved to Texas. Also, Haley and gosh, they've been friends for how long?
Since birth.
Yeah, well,
Since the womb.
that.
We were pregnant together with our babies, with the
Yes,
youngest
we
one.
were.
We even had a shower,
So yeah,
baby shower together. Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Mhm.
Isn't that crazy?
Amazing.
Yeah, it
Long
is.
history.
They're incredible friends too, and still love each other and
Yep.
stay in contact all the time. And pretty cool how our families have grown up together. And we've been best friends. Terri and Andrew and Todd and I have been best friends pretty much since that point.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's been over 30 years we were figuring up. And again, we've been on multiple vacations together, and you will find out whether you are compatible as friends.
If you're really good friends or
You're
not.
really good friends if you go on vacation together. And we have successfully done it now multiple times. So
Yes, we have.
I think we have.
Well, all the things we talk about in marriage will apply to friendships too, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yes, it does. So now tell them, well, and then I will never forget. This just always burns in my brain before you guys get to your story, which I know we are part of that. But one thing that always burns in my brain is when JRA used to have this massive firework show
Celebration for July 4th.
and I remember sitting out in the field and talking to you all. I don't know, half hour, an hour. Probably your first real deep conversation and finding out, hey, something's not right. And that always
Well, and
impacted me.
I think that's when God kind of knitted us all together was at that first James River fireworks out on it was actually on the property that the church is on now. It was before they built the church.
Oh,
and
that's right. That's right.
It was out there, and it was incredible. And we had a great time getting to know you guys there. And I think that's where our friendship really took off, and we started hanging out a lot.
Yeah. So people, just so you know, again, in life, there even Jesus had an inner circle. And I think as part of marriages, your friends are inner circle. We have sets of friends that I would expect, I know this man has because he's done it before, to love me enough that if he saw something that wasn't right, he would call it out. And
Whether you get mad or not.
yeah, he's done that to me before.
Yep.
Todd Carter, don't you talk to me like that. So, so for everybody listening, I just think this is not only going to be powerful for you as our first couple to come speak to you about their testimony, but also know there were people that came alongside of them, and then they came alongside of us. And if you want to be honest, for the last 30 years, that's all we've done is we've gone back and forth.
Yeah.
They come alongside of us, we come alongside of them. It's a venting spot. It's somebody to help lead me back to God because I'm about to lose my mind, and it's the same in a marriage. And so I'll let you guys take it from there of your testimony all the way through. And then probably in the second part, we'll get into how then Marriages by Design came about.
Yeah. Fantastic. Take it away.
Okay. So Barry and I met through my best friend and his best friend at the time when we lived in Arkansas, in Hope, Arkansas. And we were at the Watermelon Festival, actually, I think it was, right?
It was that weekend. Yeah.
That weekend. And so we had spent they were married. It was crazy. My best friend married his best friend. And so we were there. I was there for the weekend. And Barry came over and I met him. And from there, we dated like 7 months and we're married. So we've been married, gosh, it'll be 39 years this coming March. Long time.
Wow. Yeah.
Awesome.
We have 6 children. We have, which we kind of went over this, but our oldest is Will, and he's married to Allie. Will is 34. Soon to be 35. We have our second son, Ben, and he is married to our daughter, Johanna. And Ben is 30. And then our daughter, which we said was best friends with Jet, she is 25. Haley, yes. And she is married to our son, Alex. So we have 6 kids, 3 biological and the other we've adopted in. So, but then we also have 4 grandchildren. We have all 4 boys, ages from 6 down to 2. No granddaughters yet. We're hoping soon. So that kind of tells about who we are and how we met.
Yeah, so we wanted to kind of set a little bit of our background and how we grew up too, because I think it's important to understand that as you begin to hear what we tell you about our lives and our marriage and the issues and conflicts that we had. Really, as we've reflected back on all that, it's been had a significant impact on where we struggled when we look at our family's tendencies and some of the things that our family we saw as we grew up, I guess you could say, and were kind of ingrained in us and our ideals and the things that we believed and how our personalities were formed, right? So my background is that my mom and dad had been married. I was the youngest of 4 kids, 2 older sisters, one 10 years older, one 8 years older, and then my brother, who's 5 years older than me. So I'm a distant only child, as you say, because as they all left, as I went through high school, I was by myself, and got to experience a lot of rough times for my parents financially, which created a lot of tension that I saw with my parents, and the way they handled it was a little bit of a more aggressive style of their communication levels was really aggressive. They yelled at each other a lot. It's the best way to say it. And it wasn't physical. It was just a verbal thing. But it was tense for me because I didn't want to see them going through that, and you could feel that tension a lot. So I think that was something that fed into one of the issues that I ended up having, not particularly yelling a lot, but more the anger part. And Todd and I've talked about this a lot, and as you guys get to know them and get to know our testimony, we share that in that our personalities are more aggressive, or were in particular when we were younger, I guess would be a better way to say it. And that was one of the things that I struggled with early on in our marriage was that tendency to not sit back and calm yourself and relax and listen, but instead I was more aggressive, and that's quite the opposite of the way Terri's family was, and it was new to her, extremely new to her, and not only was it new, but it wasn't pleasing at that point too either. So you can tell them about
Yeah, I
what your
grew up in a
family did.
home where, excuse me, my parents, I'm sure there was struggles and conflict between the two of them, but us kids, we never saw it. So there was no verbal fighting between them that we saw. As far as we knew, there was never any fighting, which is also not good. But I just didn't grow up in a home where I was yelled at or they yelled at each other, nothing like that. It was more of a loving, not that his wasn't loving, but we just didn't see them fight or have any conflict at all. So therefore I didn't like conflict. I'm not a conflict kind of person. So
Yeah. Well, and as you can see, probably the first and foremost thing that we struggled with in our marriage was communication. And as we began to, we got married after 7 months of knowing each other, and their family loved me like a son, and I loved them, and it was fantastic. Her brother was like a brother to me, and my parents and my sisters and brother loved Terri as well. They just weren't around as much, so we spent a lot of time with Terri's family. But probably those first 10 years, we spent a lot of that time probably play acting more than anything. And I say that because that's kind of the way Terri says it. She was just doing her roles. You might say. You might explain.
Well, like my mother, she cooked 3 meals a day. She, if there was an issue, she shoved it under the rug because she would not argue with anyone. And so that's what I learned is if there's any conflict, you just shove it under the rug and act like it didn't happen. And that creates a huge problem in life. But me not liking conflict, I didn't want to astound on that. So I grew up, I thought the good wife, what she did was she cooked, she cleaned, she took care of the kids, she did all the housework, and that was expected of me.
So communication became a big issue. Go ahead,
Yes.
Todd.
Yes. So like most couples, we all bring different baggage, our upbringing, the way we were taught, what we think communication is. It's amazing. Opposites always have a tendency to attract, and then we tell them later in life, opposites will attack. So it's something that we have to be aware of, and we've all had to go through. So I do think that's great for people to hear that most of the time when couples come together, you're different. You see something in the other person that you really like that you haven't seen before, and it's in an attraction.
Or that you don't like.
Yeah. Yeah.
That you hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Especially after dating 7 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting.
We were 9 months. Y'all were 7 months.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? It's interesting when you really think about that. Both of us, if you would have looked at us from the outside for the first 10 years of our marriage,
Mhm.
I was a deacon in the church. We were very active in our church. You know, you name it, we were involved in it, and that's kind of how we started our marriage. So you know, we had God in our marriage, but He wasn't in the center of our marriage,
Mhm.
and that's what we missed the first 10 years of our marriage. And looking at it from the outside, probably you would have said, and most people did, after we began to have issues, and it became a little more in the light. Um, that they never imagined us having any marriage because we seemed so happy, and we were happy. However, the connection in our relationship wasn't deep, and that's what created most
Surface.
of
It
the
was
issue.
surface level.
It was a lot of surface stuff.
Mhm.
That's a good way to put it. A lot of surface communication, and when we did talk about it, I was more obviously of the type A that wanted to stop and talk about it, and probably did it too much, and talked too much, and got too aggressive in our relationship, and again, not physically, but just pushing, and she didn't understand that. It was foreign to her to have that connection, that deep, intimate connection. And that was what I was searching for from her, right? That was what I desired from her. And trying to explain that was difficult because I didn't know how to explain it. I'd never been, we didn't have a marriages by design at that point in time, and didn't have a model to go by. So we were trying to
Mhm.
figure all this stuff out on our own. Our parents weren't particularly active in trying to mentor us, and not that that's a perfect role for parents all the time, but growing up it is, because you begin to build what I think all of us have done is build a model for what you need to look for in a spouse, and
Mhm.
not that we didn't do that, but we didn't particularly uh, do that well ourselves. We
Mhm.
had to learn that the hard way. And I think that's the reason God put us with you guys, and in this kind of a ministry over our years, with couples and classes and that type of thing, because it's needed. It's needed to understand that
Yeah.
it's not easy when you're out there doing life and marriage and family on your own. And we learned that the hard way. And I would like to circumvent that for couples, and be able to
Yep.
use what we've
Mhm.
learned
Absolutely.
to give to them, just like you guys are, and help them to bypass some of the pitfalls that we experienced um, in our marriages, or in our
Yeah.
marriage.
I think we should back up a little
So,
bit
Yep.
and tell them where we are today,
Yeah. Very
and then
good.
we'll and then
well,
we'll go.
before you do
Okay.
that,
All right.
I kind of want, because we got about 10 minutes left in this segment, and
Okay.
I know we're going to do a part two, but what I want them to hear again, you know how we teach, everybody has an X in their life. There's none of us that are without an X, something that Satan attacks us with. And I don't want you
Mhm.
guys to go into the detail, but what I want you to do is I want them to know that there's junk. I mean,
Mhm.
there was junk that hit your family that literally could have tore you apart. And then once we get into that, we'll stop, and then we'll go to the best part of as to what God did and how He
Well,
took
first we wanted to express, we kind of wanted to take this to where we are today, and then go back to that, because
it.
it's
Okay.
very important to
Yeah.
understand. And one of the things we've learned is that people understand where we are today. Best
Yes.
friends,
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
soulmates, and
Yes.
100% trust
Mhm.
between the two of us. Even though the stuff you're about to hear about our marriage, we were in
Oh
the
yeah.
ditch.
That's saying it
and
lightly.
and
Well,
not just one
here's how
flat tire, we had four
here's how
flat
Andrea
tires.
and I explain to you all. I mean, when people ask us about Barry and Terry, or we tell them about you, and we have this couple, And this is where they came from. Here's what I always tell them. I said, if you would meet Barry and Terri today, you would say, dude, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I see
Yeah.
how well they love each other. So I'm just telling you, it was at the end, and it was only because of God.
That's right.
I said, so God can do for you what he's done for them, because when you meet them, like you're seeing them right now, they are 100% correct that they are best friends. They are confident. They trust each other. 30 some years ago, I didn't know that we'd ever make it. But what has
Well, I think it's
happened is
important to
just
understand.
the power of God.
Yeah.
That's right, Todd. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I think it's important to understand kind of just a little bit about what created more than anything. We talked about the communication issues, but there's more to that in a marriage, right? So there becomes intimacy issues. Some of the things that we talked about, and we'll get a little bit more into this as we get into the next segment, but I think it's important to understand that we were not only separate communication wise, but physically we were separate, and intimacy is probably one of the most important things in a relationship, not only to a man, but to his wife. And how you treat that intimacy is as important to the wife and the husband. And I know guys, and I'm speaking to guys out there, and Todd and I usually figured out if we can talk to the guys, then the ladies are going to kind of get it anyway, right? Because we're the hard-headed ones 95% of the time. I'm going to leave a little bit of room there, but 95% of the time, the guys are the hard-headed ones. But I'll tell you this, guys, ladies, completely intimacy-wise are completely different animals. And I know you all know this, but don't learn that the hard way. Learn to listen to what they're saying, because my problem was I was trying to be the one to tell all the issues that I had, and not really listening and stopping and letting her tell me what she needed. And she had trouble expressing that. That was one of the things that she had trouble expressing, and which caused you to withdraw.
Well, partly because of the way he would respond. He would get upset if I didn't feel the way he thought I should feel. And so that closed me down to where I didn't always tell my feelings of how I felt. So I would just, like my mom did, put them under a rug and go, it'll be fine. I'll just put up with it and it'll all be good.
Yeah.
Which was the wrong thing to do. So,
Well, and of course we're collapsing this into a short time here, but over those years, what happened is we began to pull apart. And here's what happens in a marriage when that happens. If you're not getting fulfilled correctly, all right, and you're not fulfilling your spouse correctly, what ends up happening is one or the other starts pulling away. And that's what I did. I started pulling away. Basically, you could say it in the words, I give up, right? It's not reality, but that's what we tend to do inside of ourselves, is give up. And I looked elsewhere and ended up having an affair, and that went on for a long period of time. Well, that wasn't the cure, right? That wasn't the cure at
Right.
all. And it was something that I don't even know that she really sensed was going on, because we were so far apart. And when you are on the right track together, and when you have God in the center of your marriage, and when you are communicating correctly, you're going to know if something like that's going on, because quite frankly, as your spiritual lead in your marriage, God's going to let you know, the Holy Spirit's going to let you know there's something going on. So that told us that we didn't really have that Godhead in our marriage, right? And he wasn't at the top, which is where he needed to be. And we've used that example many times, and you'll see Todd and them use that a lot. But God's got to be the one that connects you with your spouse to make you whole. and to make you
Yep.
one. And that's what we didn't do. And we'll get a little bit more into that as we go into the next segment. But I think that's something that people need to understand. Start working on that today. Stop
Yep.
where you are if you feel yourself going the wrong direction, and start working on that today. How do you do that? Well, first off, you fix what's inside your circle. In one of the classes that we had, um, we took a hula hoop class and we set it on the ground and we said, get inside the hula hoop and fix what's inside that hula hoop, inside that circle first. Because if you're
Yep.
spending your time trying to fix your mate, which is what I was doing, you're looking at the wrong thing. You need to fix what's here and what's here first. Let her fix what's there and let me fix what's here. And that's literally how you start.
Yep.
Yep.
So let me close it up here, and then we'll come back with part two. But there's a scripture out of Matthew 22 and Luke 10:27 that's become a big part of our family, Barry and Terry's family, and we say it often. We even say it to each other. We love you with all my heart, and it's scriptural. It's not a Carter or Hogan only. Anybody can use it, but we have named a lot of our vehicles and
My shop.
her shop and vacation place. That it's that we are. It's a reminder that we are to love God with all my heart, and then it goes on to say with all my mind, body, and soul. That's the first. It's the first and the greatest commandment. It's the one I know if I can ever get it completely down, I don't have to worry about any of the others because it covers everything. And Jesus said it's the first and the greatest. So,
Yeah.
Lord,
Yeah.
thank you for this time we've had together. God, I thank you for the couples that's going to hear about Barry and Terri. Maybe they even connect with them down in Dallas at some point because they have a ministry themselves down there. But I'm excited to hear about part two that comes up in the next podcast. God, to hear what God did. That's what people want to know is what happened. What did God do? What were the steps? And they get to tell you from their perspective. So I love you for this time and thank you in advance for the people you're going to touch. In your name we pray. Amen.